9 years, over $200 million spent, and the entire Chris Pine crew primed for a comeback. Yet in 2025, Paramount canceled Star Trek's next film and burned the Kelvin timeline to the ground. The official story says dwindling box office and bloated costs forced their hand, but it gets worse. Buried behind that headline is a black hole of mismanagement, wasted scripts, and a reboot cycle with no end in sight. Here's where the money went and the numbers don't lie. How did so much go so wrong? Let us break down what really happened and what it meant. After nearly a decade of rumors, rewrites, and high-profile promises, the verdict is in. Star Trek IV is not happening. The project that was supposed to reunite Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana, Carl Urban, Simon Pegg, and John Cho has been quietly shelved for good. Paramount's final word came not with a press conference, but through silence. Development froze during the 2025 Skydance merger, and by November the studio had moved on. The Kelvin timeline, which once brought in over $1 billion across 3 films, now ends without a farewell. Behind closed doors, millions of dollars vanished into script drafts, director deals, and cast negotiations that never led to cameras rolling. For fans, the promise of a Pine-led crew returning to the Enterprise faded into a string of abandoned scripts and missed release dates. No official send-off, no grand finale, just a quiet retreat from a project that absorbed untold sums and years of creative effort. For more breakdowns of Hollywood's biggest franchise disasters, subscribe and stay tuned. The story behind this cancellation is only beginning to unravel. The unraveling began in 2016, just months after Star Trek Beyond hit theaters. Quentin Tarantino, fresh off The Hateful Eight, pitched an R-rated Star Trek film to J.J. Abrams and Paramount. The idea was greenlit for development, and headlines and fan theories followed, but Tarantino soon left the project. The studio kept searching for a direction, cycling through scripts and creative teams. Development stalled and momentum slipped. By 2019, Noah Hawley, known for Fargo and Legion, was hired to write and direct a new installment. Hawley's version spent a year in development. Casting rumors swirled around Cate Blanchett and Rami Malek, but the script's virus-driven plot made executives nervous as the COVID-19 pandemic hit. But it gets worse. Hawley's project was quietly dropped. The next attempt came in 2021 when Paramount brought in Matt Shakman, fresh off WandaVision, to direct. A release date was set for June 2023, and public excitement built as new writers joined the project. Chris Pine publicly expressed his enthusiasm, but behind the scenes the script kept changing and no cameras ever rolled. Shakman eventually left to work on Marvel's Fantastic Four, and by late 2024, the project stalled completely. The window for a Kelvin crew reunion closed without a single scene filmed. The years slipped away, and with them, any clear path forward. Stalled is the only word that fits. Here's where the money went, and the numbers don't lie, but that analysis comes next. 9 years of development hell left a paper trail of vanished funds and broken contracts. Here's where the money went. Industry insiders estimate that a quarter to a third of all spending never touched a film set. Instead, it paid for writers, directors, and agents. Every pitch, from Quentin Tarantino's headline-grabbing script to Noah Hawley's rejected virus plot, triggered pay-or-play deals and option fees. Writer and director contracts alone likely absorbed $50 to $70 million, with each new creative team demanding buyouts or exclusive commitments regardless of outcome. But it gets worse. Another 20 to 30% of the sunk costs evaporate on early design, concept art, and visual effects tests. Studios greenlit pre-visualization and location scouting for versions that would never see the light of day. Art departments and VFX houses billed for months of work, only for those assets to be shelved with every new regime. Cast holds and option agreements accounted for another 15 to 25%. Maintaining the availability of A-list stars like Chris Pine and Zoe Saldana, even without a shooting schedule, meant millions more locked up in legal guarantees and scheduling fees. Add in studio overhead, legal wrangling, and administrative costs, and the invisible spending spirals upward. The numbers don't lie. The true loss is not just the cash burned. The opportunity cost is years when a new Star Trek film could have earned hundreds of millions instead of draining the ledger. Star Trek's box office numbers tell a story that cannot be spun. The 2009 reboot opened strong, earning $385 million worldwide on a $150 million budget, a solid return that reignited the franchise. 4 years later, Into Darkness climbed even higher, pulling in $467 million against a reported $190 million budget, but the momentum did not last. By 2016, Star Trek Beyond grossed just $343 million worldwide, while its production budget had grown to $185 million. That does not include the tens of millions spent on global marketing and distribution. In Hollywood, a blockbuster needs to earn at least twice its production budget to break even after advertising and theater cuts. Beyond barely cleared that bar, leaving little profit for the studio. Meanwhile, costs kept rising, not just for visual effects and sets, but for the entire cast and crew. But it gets worse. Here's where the money went. The numbers don't lie. Each film cost more to make, but brought in less. Was Star Trek Beyond good enough to deserve another sequel, or did the box office make the decision for Paramount? Let us know your honest take in the comments below, and subscribe for more Hollywood business analysis. Paramount's next move arrived in November 2025, when the studio hired Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly, the duo behind Dungeons & Dragons' Honor Among Thieves, to launch a new Star Trek film from scratch. This is a full reset. It is not a continuation or soft handoff. It is a full reset with a new cast, a new timeline, and no connection to the Chris Pine era or the streaming shows. The goal is clear: make Star Trek accessible to anyone, not just longtime fans. In practical terms, that means starting over, even if it means walking away from years of development and the Kelvin crew's billion-dollar legacy. But it gets worse. With the merger just finalized and no script yet, filming is not expected before 2027. The earliest release date is likely 2028 or 2029. That is a gap of at least 12 years since Star Trek Beyond. For a franchise that once prided itself on continuity, the operational reality is a decade-plus drought. Paramount's answer to years of spinning its wheels is a clean slate, betting that a fresh team can succeed where 9 years of false starts could not. The current drought is not new for Star Trek. Back in 2002, Star Trek Nemesis landed in theaters with the promise of continuing the Next Generation legacy, but the film flopped, earning just $67 million worldwide. The fallout was immediate. Paramount abandoned the movie franchise for 7 years. No new Trek film entered production, and the big screen went silent until J.J. Abrams restarted everything with the 2009 reboot. That long gap left fans wondering if Star Trek had a future in theaters at all. The pattern was set. When a film underperformed, the studio hit pause and waited for the dust to settle. That 7 years of silence after Nemesis is not just a footnote, it is the first sign of a cycle that would repeat, shaping how Paramount manages the franchise to this day. Star Trek now spans more than 900 hours of episodes and movies, a universe so vast even die-hard fans struggle to keep up. For newcomers, the sheer volume can feel like a wall instead of an invitation. Paramount once promised the Kelvin films would be the easy entry point, but after years of delays and a complete reboot, even that roadmap has vanished. Franchise fatigue is not just about too much content, it is about never knowing where the story will actually continue. But it gets worse. Here's where the money went. The Kelvin timeline was developed for 9 years, and an estimated $200 million was spent in development alone. The numbers do not lie, and that kind of investment raises real questions about strategy and stewardship. Did Paramount make the right call by scrapping everything and starting over, or did they waste nearly a decade and $200 million chasing a dead end? Tell us which side you are on in the comments below. Was the Kelvin roadmap still the best entry point for new fans, or did Paramount create franchise fatigue by restarting too often? Drop your verdict in the comments now. If you want more breakdowns of Hollywood's biggest franchise failures, subscribe and hit the bell for new videos. Don't forget to subscribe for more investigative looks at franchise mismanagement and what really goes wrong when studios choose reboots over building long-term value. Paramount's $200 million gamble leaves a cautionary mark. When legacy studios chase reboots instead of building trust, even billion-dollar franchises can lose their future. In an era defined by franchise fatigue, the true risk isn't failure. It's forgetting what made audiences care in the first place. What do you think?